Hello, everybody. My name is Teddy Jenkins, and welcome to the Horror Nerd Podcast. With me is Chad,
What's
as
up,
always.
everybody? Got some good
Okay.
movies to talk about today.
By the way, did you watch A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night?
I had seen it a while ago. I've seen it once, but I watched a couple of the trailers and looked at a few. I went to the Wikipedia page just because they outline the whole plot, so I
Right.
got a good refresher of it. Because it definitely is, a stylistic film
It
that I
very much is.
yeah, and I kind of forgot what exactly happened, but yeah, I got a refresher of it. It's a very interesting movie.
Right. Well, okay. So Rolf was going to be here, but
Okay,
unfortunately, he was going on a vacation for the Fourth of July and stuff like that. So he's out of town right now, so he wasn't
gotcha.
able to make it. But he and I did
He
watch
will
the
be
movie
missed.
though.
He will be
Yes,
missed.
yes, he will be here this week though.
Very good.
This Sunday.
Awesome.
So the first time that I asked him, hey, let's watch a movie, he's like, you want me to watch a foreign film with subtitles?
But the old subtitles,
and
oh,
and he hates subtitles. I mean, he cannot stand it.
look, man.
There's one reason why he hates like anime, is because a lot of it is like you have to listen with subtitles. So he's like, okay, I hate most of anime because of subtitles. And then,
Look,
oh my gosh, then when he started watching the movie, he's like, it's in black and white.
oh yeah, this is 0 for 2 for him. Subtitles, black and
Absolutely,
white, foreign film.
absolutely. But by the end of
Look,
it,
hey,
he
I
was
just gotta say, I just
yeah,
gotta
go ahead.
say, we all got to get over the fear of subtitles. It's just not that
Yeah,
bad. We got
it
to
really
do it,
isn't.
guys.
And here's the thing: I've watched quite a bit of anime before, and anime I think is an easier way to start being okay with subtitles because it's then um, it helps because the biggest problem that people have with subtitles is that, well, I can't watch the movie and read at the same time.
Sure, you
But
can.
but that's the thing is that with anime it makes it a lot easier because the
Right,
images are so, flashy and fast and bright, and it
right.
and it kind of makes you look at the whole image um
Gotcha.
much easier, whereas like in this movie the images are not super vibrant, and so
Right.
yeah. But yeah, I think that's an easy way to start getting used to the idea of reading and watching the movie at the same time.
Yeah.
I gotta say, in this movie, in A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, there's a lot of really cool shots in this movie that I loved. Like I would tell Hoff, that is a really cool shot, and I really just love the way that looks. One
Hmm.
example, I'm not sure if you remember it, but it's the one where what's his name, Arash,
Right.
the
Yeah,
the
that's his name.
main guy, when
Yeah, the kind
he's
of
when
the
he's
James
on.
Dean, James
Yeah,
Dean kind of guy.
yeah, basically. When he's on, like, Hoff said it was Molly, um, and when he takes drugs at the club, and then he starts walking down the street. There's a shot of him where he's just looking at this lamp. It's like street lamp
Hmm.
with the vampire teeth and the Dracula costume, and it looks so cool looking. I don't know why either. It just looks cool for some reason. And then there was another one that I thought was interesting where, um, you never even find out the name of the girl, do you? You don't
No,
find
I
out the
think
name
I
until
think her name is just the girl.
the girl. Well,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
that's what I thought was weird is that I think like Arash is the only named character in this whole movie.
I think the
Is
other characters have names. I don't know if they
his
mention
dad
them.
does. His dad does because
And
the prostitute woman mentions it.
and then there's like I think that the prostitute's name I think is Atti, Atti.
That's right, because when he's freaking out, screaming about why won't you leave me alone. That's
Right.
right. He mentions her name. Okay, so the girl, the shot is where the girl is on the skateboard up against a wall
Oh, I love
with
that
her
shot.
arms
Yeah,
moving along with the skateboard with her arms. I was thinking that looks just so bizarre and so cool at the
it
same
looks
time because
I
it's just
totally I love that scene. That to me was when I saw the trailer, I was like, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued. And then I saw that shot of the skateboard with her skateboarding along the wall, and I was just for whatever reason that sold me. That
right,
pushed me over the edge to go, I can't wait for this because if they're catching this kind of bizarre shot that's so subtle yet has
right,
made such
yeah.
an impact onto me, I got to see this movie now.
Right. And Okay, I was curious if you noticed this. Okay, did you notice that they gave her a what is it, a hijab? The That's really what
I
it's called.
forgot what it's called.
I think it's called a hijab. I think there's one there's the burqa and then there's the hijab, and one of those covers the entire face, like your entire body, and then one of them's just
Right.
like a goes around your head. I think a hijab is the one that goes just around your head. Um,
Let's see. I think
you might
yeah.
want to
Oh,
check that.
they call it a I don't know how you pronounce it, but Cador or Chador.
Oh, is
That's what.
that okay?
Yeah, I think that's
Okay,
right. I could be wrong. Let me just make
okay.
sure.
Well, I
But
was curious if you noticed this that it looks like Dracula's cape,
yes, it absolutely did.
which I thought was really cool and a really interesting modern way to do that because I never thought about that before. I never thought like, oh, that kind of looks like a cape. Like,
Yes. Yeah, I really liked it, especially when you see her in that. It looks like you pronounce it Shadar, I think. That's what I'm going to go with for now. But when
Islamic
she's
words are weird.
there for us in our American dialect doesn't work as well.
Yeah,
But the yeah, I just thought it was really cool whenever he's like in his Dracula outfit, and that
right.
she's
And then she
standing there,
was,
and
yeah,
it's like, little do you know, I'm actually a vampire. I don't know. There was something I
yeah,
always like it when people go up against someone and like someone's trying to be tough or cool or scary or dangerous, and they go up against someone who has a hidden secret and they're actually that thing. They're actually really tough. They're
yeah,
actually really
yeah.
dangerous. There's a part there in Man of Steel where Clark Kent walks out of the bar after getting the beer dumped on him, and this guy chucks it at him from behind. He's just like, you don't even realize who you're dealing with. I don't. I always like that dynamic where
Yeah.
the
And then
person
he
actually,
and then he
you know,
throws the street the what is it?
the
The
truck,
electric the pole through
right?
the through the
Yeah, he just
truck.
turns. Yeah, he just rips the thing apart, just stabs it with the was it
Dude, I
telephone
don't even
posts
know
or
what you're
whatever.
supposed to do when that happens. Who do you call? Your mechanic? What does the mechanic do?
Yeah, I
Like,
don't know.
okay, we're gonna need to remove this giant pole first from your
Yeah,
car.
yeah, exactly. AAA, I don't think has a
Yeah,
system in place to deal with that.
it's like who fixes that?
Right.
I
Like, dude.
guess I mean it's either your mechanic or the city like construction workers, the maintenance people.
Right.
You know, like they come and
Yeah.
fix a pole when it falls over. So is it them who gets it out of your car?
I don't
You
know.
know?
I mean, yeah, we don't have someone who's,
Yeah,
set to fix something of that nature.
yeah, yeah. We really don't. Um, I really
But
like
yeah,
this movie though.
yeah. So here's one thing that I liked about it that we kind of talked about style versus substance last
Hmm.
week. I know we had differing opinions on Kill List, which is
Right,
certainly a stylistic movie
right.
in its own right.
I feel like this blended those together really well though.
Yeah, and I would totally agree that it's certainly its own style, but it doesn't lose its focus on substance, and I
Right.
think that there's so much to interpret here, whether it's the romance. Is there, a feminist kind of theme to this movie? I actually, from what I
Did you
recall,
get that? I didn't really get that.
I I sort of got that, but then certain elements went away from that, and I actually watched or I saw a review of the movie
Well,
not too long ago,
it.
and the director said that that was not the intent. So
Okay.
I was like, okay,
Okay.
that's interesting because yeah, I could see people interpreting it that way and be like, it's totally a feminist, got a
What
feminist
I
theme
didn't
or not.
I didn't think about it, but it is made by like a Vice film, which is part of like Vice
Right.
News. You know what
Mm-hmm.
Vice News is, and they're a
Yeah,
super
yeah,
liberal,
right.
organization.
But
So
according to the director, that was not the
right, which
intent.
I'm
So
glad because I would be like, well, that's kind of just like okay. I don't really like films that are like this weird um, agenda pushing movie. I'm okay if it asks a question and brings up
mhm,
like an issue, but not I don't know, you know what I mean? Not asking the question in the purpose of pushing an agenda. Does that make
sure.
sense?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah. No, I
it's
hear what you're
like
saying.
it's like for instance if you made a movie in which this one woman was hated by every man in the movie. and then it was like, do you think this is okay for women to be treated like this? You know what I mean? Because then it's like it's a question with the agenda that all men hate women. You know, so then
Sure,
it's kind
gotcha.
of so then I'm just kind of like, well, okay, that's not really asking a question. It's kind of just pushing your agenda and making it look like it's a question. You know,
Yeah, it's not very subtle in
if
what
it's just
it's trying to
if
do.
it's a rhetorical question, then I don't really care. You know, but
Sure.
if it's a legitimate thing, I was kind of intrigued though by the like whole Middle Eastern setting. I thought that was an interesting.
Yeah,
Uh,
which is funny. Actually, it was filmed, I think, in Southern California.
really,
Actually, yeah.
I was
Hmm.
thinking, okay, this was probably made in like Iran or like
Well, it's
somewhere
certainly
like that.
supposed to. It's supposed to be that is the setting of the movie, but that's not it. But that wasn't actually filmed in Iran. But I think you're right. I mean, oh, I know you're right. It's definitely supposed to
Right,
be
because she
set
wears,
in,
yeah, because
and
she
I don't want to
wears,
say
because
like.
everybody, all the women wear like hijabs or burqas or whatever they're
Well,
called.
yeah, and
Um,
I say that I think it is almost supposed to be like like it was a netherworld kind of. I think it's called Bad City,
it is, yeah,
and so, yeah, so I don't actually know if it's actually supposed to be our reality of Iran or if it's kind of
right.
like
Now,
the movie. I'm trying to think of like Eraserhead, for example, another black and white film that's awesome. Is like kind of filmed in the US, but it's also like feels otherworldly at the same time.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know what I mean? So I
Well,
don't necessarily think it's supposed to be like this our today version of Iran. It might be kind of this netherworld, if you will.
yeah. Well, two things. First thing is that you brought up the idea that it was had some kind of feminist message to it. Is that it does kind of? I now that I think about it, it does feel like a commentary on the way that the Middle East is, and the way that the Middle East treats a lot of women. Um,
Sure. Yeah.
which I could get that, and I think that's a totally fair complaint. Uh, but at the same time, I think, okay, how many feminists mention stuff like that? You know what I mean? Like most feminists are concerned with like Western culture, which makes me a
Right.
little bit mad most of the time. But it's like I don't see most feminists aren't concerned with like Eastern culture and stuff like that. Like they don't like most feminists don't bring up the Middle East very often and the treatment of women there. However, I could be wrong. But then the director said that it wasn't supposed to be a feminist message, so it
Yeah.
doesn't really matter in the end.
Yeah.
The other thing
Well,
though is that
yeah.
this reminds me a little bit of like one of two things. I'm not sure which one it would be more like. Either the universe of Watchmen or the universe of Sin City, which
Hmm.
I don't know if you've ever noticed or like taken it, learned anything about either of those two, but like Watchmen is sort of like hyper reality almost. Like it's this really dark, super gritty world where like everything is bad.
Right. Yeah.
and
By the way, I just saw, not to, I don't want to go off onto this too much, but I gotta
yeah,
say, because I just saw it recently, I just saw the Watchmen director's cut, and it is awesome. I don't know if
is
you've
it?
seen it or if you saw the theatrical cut. I was kind of like, I just don't know how I feel about the
Well,
theatrical cut,
yeah,
but the director's cut is awesome. Like I watched it one day and then the next day I watched it again because I liked it that much, and it's worth a rent if you can.
yeah. I might have to check that out because I've read the graphic novel before, and which was
Right, me
which
too.
it's
Yeah,
amazing. It's
yeah, it
like
is.
absolutely astonishing.
Yeah,
Like
it's fantastic.
like people who even don't like comic books, I would say this is still amazing
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
it's like,
And
dude, I okay, my the ending has always been mind blowing to me. You
oh,
know,
for sure. And I gotta
spoilers on that
say,
ending, by the way.
and
I
yeah,
still am like, wow,
when you turn
Rorschach.
the
Yeah, when you see the city
yeah,
and
when
this
you turn
giant.
the page and all of a sudden you're like, what is going on here?
Right. And then,
Where is
dude,
this gonna
the
go?
part that freaked me out the most, dude, was when Rorschach dies, and
Oh yeah.
you're like you. It's so crazy to think, wow, this dude's like so hardcore for justice that it's like he realizes that he needs to die because otherwise his sense of justice will not allow him to keep this secret.
Right.
And
Oh,
it's and
man.
it's just like, and then dude, there's a lot of crazy questions that like, um, what's that? Oh gosh, how can I not remember his name? The giant blue dude who can do anything,
Dr.
Doctor
Manhattan, right?
Manhattan. That dude is like, it makes you question a lot of things about like how you view stuff and like the idea of what would happen if like a person became a god. You know,
Right.
it'd be so
Yeah.
like overwhelming that
Right.
like I think he even realizes that too, that he's just like, I'm not going to do anything because I don't want to
Hmm.
mess anything up. You know, like
Yeah.
he just wants it to go as it's going to go. And then at the end he's just like, I'm going to just go make other universes and stuff.
Right. I'm gonna create some new life.
And it's like, okay. And then
Dude,
like and
move
then
move over Superman and the
right.
Justice League.
And I thought
I
it was
mean, no one's stopping this guy. That guy
right.
is by far the most
Right.
powerful.
Nobody could stop him,
No,
you
not a
know.
chance.
Um,
Yeah.
and I hadn't thought about. I always thought this was interesting that like Ozymandias's last words are always, um, "Was I right?" Like, because he's supposed to be the smartest guy on the planet, basically,
Right.
but he still asks like this basically a god, "Was I right in like destroying a huge like millions of people for the greater good?" And then he's like, "You'll have to figure that one out on your own. Peace out." And you're just like, okay,
And
okay,
just to finish off that one point, one of the best parts of the whole thing is just the fact that the bad guy wins. The bad guy accomplishes
right,
what he went out for in the first
right.
place.
And then it
Like,
makes you
oh,
question also: is he really a bad guy?
right,
Like,
yeah,
was okay, like it makes you question in the grand scheme of things: is that better or worse? You know what I mean? And I've heard,
right.
okay, I forgot what happens in the movie because I heard about what happens in the movie that it's not actually an alien.
No, so what I mean, it's the same thing conceptually, except instead of making this alien, they made it such that it's Dr. Manhattan. They make this
Okay,
electric burst of energy, and everyone thinks it's Dr. Manhattan. So everyone, all these countries, Russia and the U.S., team up to stop or to destroy or protect themselves
right,
against Dr. Manhattan. So
right.
it actually makes so much more sense to do it that way in the film because it answers the question of like, well, why is Dr. Manhattan just leaving? It's like, well,
Yeah,
he is the source of this peace
right,
between these warring countries.
right.
He's the source of them, and it makes sense why he
Yeah,
would just be like, book it, I'm done, I'm getting out of here.
because okay, it explains, it makes it a lot more understandable in the graphic novel because there's much more time to explain things and to go into details about stuff. But in a 2 hour movie, you can't get across that. Oh, everybody just believes in aliens all of a sudden. Like, you know what I mean? Like in two
Right.
hours, you can't convince an audience that this superhero movie where the aliens are never mentioned at the very end, it's just like, oh yeah, I just decided to drop this alien and this nuclear bomb or whatever in
Right.
New York City, and now everybody thinks that aliens are real. It's like it would be too difficult for that to.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It would go right through people in a
It makes
movie.
so much more. I know a number of people who are comic book purists, have a
Don't like
problem with it, I
right,
think, about it, but like it just makes so much more sense.
right,
Not
yeah,
the source material doesn't always translate from the
right.
comic books to the film. This is a perfect example of how now
Yeah.
you gotta change it, and it's much better
Well,
because of their
okay.
decision to do that.
Quickly speaking on like comic book adaptations to film, I still a big reason why I and I think a lot of other people didn't like Batman v Superman is because of how poorly they handled it. The adaptation to the from the graphic novel to the movie because it there wasn't any of the feeling, I think, or there wasn't like here's the thing, I expected at least like the major themes of the graphic novel to carry over, but
Yeah,
even they
you know,
didn't, because it was
Man,
so.
we should make a whole nother podcast on that because I just
Whew.
watched the ultimate edition
Let
like
me ask
three
you,
times in the past week,
was it
and
really amazing?
uh, here's how it goes. Okay, if you liked the first movie, or if thought you kind of liked it, the theatrical cut, but you had problems with like the editing and some of the plot holes. That was me. I like it, but there's just some big, editing and plot hole issues for me. If you're in those two buckets, I think you're going to like the movie a lot more because it fills in the plot holes, and as a result of that, the editing is so much smoother, makes sense. It's fluid from scene to scene for the most part. And for me, I've watched it 3 times since it came out last week, and I personally really really like the movie. Like I actually very much like the movie,
Okay.
but
Okay.
but it's certainly
Yeah.
a divisive film,
So
and understandably so.
I got a question. Have you seen the animated version of The Dark Knight Returns?
Yes, yeah,
Okay. Here's the thing. That's what I wanted Batman v Superman to be, and I get that that's not what it couldn't be
right,
shot for shot that. But I was expecting, like, here's the thing. Okay, the reason that I like The Dark Knight Returns so much is because it deals with so many different themes and this idea of you're getting old and what are you supposed to do as a super, like what it like no there's no other movie or even comic book really that deals with a superhero just getting old. You know what I mean? Where it's
yeah,
just they have to deal with the fact that they can't be a superhero anymore. And also it deals with this awesome question. And Batman v Superman touches on this, but with Lex Luthor mostly, and some with Batman too. But I didn't feel like it was fleshed out enough that Superman isn't like a god, and that the biggest reason that Batman wants to fight Superman is to show everybody that he's not like a god, that a human can beat him, that just a regular guy with like billions of dollars
right,
can defeat this guy that everyone thinks is unstoppable. Like, okay,
right,
do you remember Batman's speech to Superman right as he's like beating him to death, and right before
yeah,
Batman has a heart attack? Like, I wanted that to be in Batman versus Superman because I was like, that is such a good speech, like, because it explains all of his reasoning in that one speech.
yeah,
Because he tells him, I want you to remember in your most quiet moments that I was the man who beat you. And then he has the heart attack and then like ends, you know. But
right.
it's just it's just so like it's so much crazier that way. And it makes you think a lot more. And Batman v Superman, like, okay, what if you think about it, it would have been better if like Batman had died in a way.
If-
And then that you find out that it was all like fake. That he took some like whatever heart attack. But see, I think that's one reason though why the Doomsday thing maybe wasn't such a good idea. Because if
yeah,
it had, for instance, if it had just been Batman v Superman, don't put Wonder Woman in it or any of that, just them, I feel like it would have been a much better movie.
well, yeah. I mean, I'd have to see the script and all that, but I mean,
Right.
for in my opinion, with the task that they decided, to take up, with going after all these different stories. There's a lot of stories they're trying to capture,
Right.
and
Yeah.
the screenplay that Snyder had at his disposal, that's what he's got to work with. Is
Right.
the
Right.
Batman versus
Yeah.
Superman story, the stuff with
I don't blame
Lois.
Snyder for the movie. I don't think it was his fault. I think it was
Yeah,
more Warner Brothers' fault for wanting to be like, okay, listen, we need to be Marvel by like next week. So if you can
right.
just
Yeah, I think that
make
there's
that
some.
happen.
I think that that's absolutely fair to say that, but for me personally, with if you're like, all right, well, this is the screenplay we're going with, this is what we got to do. I actually thought with what they were tasked to
Right.
do with the
I thought
screenplay they
that too.
had,
With
it was actually
what they were
it
trying to
was
do,
really
what they
good
were
for what they
going
had to
for,
do it.
they
Yeah,
did a pretty good job.
yeah,
But still, on an overall, view of it, I feel like they should have cut out Wonder Woman. They should have cut out Doomsday. They should have made Lex Luthor not a 12-year-old person with like I don't even know all kinds of mental issues.
I gotta say
um,
though, the one thing is they actually fleshed out Lex Luthor's plan so much better in this one.
this is true.
There are things that like in the Ultimate Edition, there are things that don't even make the theatrical cut that are like
Super
that
important of as
changed.
to
Yeah,
why he's doing all this.
that changed everything. That changed your perception of like who this guy is and how much he really is the puppet master of all of this stuff, like of everything going on. I mean, the
Right.
desert sequence is like 3 times as long, and it makes a lot more sense. It's just we. I'm telling you, I will gladly do a separate podcast if you watch the Ultimate Edition. Even
Okay.
get Hoth. It's Hoth, right? Is that Hoth? Is that George? Am I saying that right?
Hoth.
Holth?
Hoth.
Holth.
Yeah, it's Hoth.
I'll get that right. Holth.
Not
Get
the
you
snow
guys
planet from Star
right.
Wars.
I was just like, no,
I
that
was I
doesn't
was
sound
like Hoth.
right.
Why is he just bringing up Hoth?
Dude, you guys go watch the Ultimate Edition. I will gladly do like a
Yeah.
2 hour podcast just talking about that
Yeah.
movie because it's definitely one way or another. It would be interesting to hear because for me, I had more of a positive experience. You didn't. I'd be curious to see
Yeah.
what y'all thought after seeing the Ultimate
Yeah.
Edition because it's certainly it fleshes out everything more, but depending on where you come from, that might actually like be worse depending on where you come from on it.
Well,
So we should definitely do a
so,
separate
so
podcast on this.
I'm just curious on this game.
Yeah.
Story wise, did you feel The Dark Knight Returns, the anime movie, or Batman v Superman was better? The director's cut included.
Is this the part? There's part one and part two of the animated.
Right.
You just talking about
I think
two?
part two, because part two is basically Batman v Superman, what it was
Right.
based on. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I liked, frankly, I personally liked the Batman vs Superman one a little bit more, just because I don't know. It's I don't know. It worked for me, but I totally get it not working for other people. It
See,
is convoluted. It is,
yeah,
and here's the thing too, is that they add in a lot. There's a lot more of Clark Kent in the Ultimate Edition, so you
good,
get a
because
lot more.
he was basically
Yeah,
like, I felt
I mean,
like, why are you doing
there's
any of this? Why are you
there's a
here?
whole there's several scenes where you literally see Clark get on a boat and go to Gotham and investigate who this Batman guy is, and you get more of a sense from the
Good.
people in Gotham about there's this old black guy who's like who's kind
Right
of
in the trailer, who
this
has that scratch card
yeah
that has the Batman
yeah,
logo
he's
on
kind
it.
of like a kind of a wise kind of figure, a wise figure,
A
kind of, if you
wise
will.
homeless sage.
Yeah, yeah, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, the way he describes it is just from his perspective. He's just like something's changed in him. He's meaner, and he's angry, and he's hunting. And you're like, oh yeah, he's
Which is,
hunting you,
I
Clark.
just want to say,
He's literally hunting
I just
you.
want to say this. It's always better when they make Batman seem like he's not a human being, and they make
Oh
him
yeah,
seem like he's like this force. Because
yeah,
otherwise, dude, if you they just presented him as just a person, then you're like, okay, how can he do any of this stuff?
right.
You know what I
Oh,
mean?
it's
Like,
way better when you kind of put him out there, kind of like a Michael Myers, Freddy
right,
Krueger type,
right,
like an entity as
right,
opposed to a human
right.
being.
One thing I think does that really well is Batman Year One. You ever seen
Oh,
that?
I don't think I've seen that one.
Okay,
No.
they made an animated movie of it too, and it's a great graphic novel. But like, okay, so they portray Batman both as a human being and an entity. I feel very well, because what happened at the end, essentially, is that, and this isn't really spoilery at all, but Batman is in this warehouse, this giant abandoned house, I guess, um, and basically all the police hate him and want to kill him. Okay, because the police is corrupt. It's kind of like Gotham, in a sense, but also mixed with this graphic novel. So it's Batman's first year as Batman, that's why it's called Batman Year One. So he's in this
Got it.
house, and this huge army of SWAT people want to kill him. Okay, and they're not trying to like arrest him, like they're legitimately just gonna kill him on sight when they see him. So he's been like shot in the leg already. Okay, and one of the single coolest moments, I think, in a Batman film ever, is where he hits this little button on his utility belt, and you're like, okay, what does that do? And then you see the bat cave, and then all the eyes of these bats light up
Oh,
in the
nice.
cave, and then like 3 minutes later, this huge swarm of bats, which is what happens in
Batman
Batman
Begins.
Begins, which is what I think that it's basically the same thing, and it's trying to, which I think is what Christopher Nolan was trying to recreate, was that scene.
Right.
and they
Yeah,
come and
definitely.
fill
It
up the
sounds
whole
like
area. And then he gets on a motorcycle and then is able to escape because of all the bats.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Gotta say,
yeah.
sounds pretty cool.
Another
Well,
one
yeah,
that
we
does that really well. Have you seen the movie Gotham? What is it? Gotham Knight. I think it's called
no, I
Batman
don't think
Gotham Knight,
so.
and it's actually an anthology film, an animated anthology film about Batman, and
Hmm.
it's weird and
Okay.
interesting because the idea is that it's these four kids telling stories of how they saw Batman, all the times that they've seen Batman. So it's like at one point, it's like he's an actual vampire, and then another
Oh,
points where he's just this dude, and then other ones where like he's
that's
this
kind of cool.
shadow. Then so it's all of these different ways
Sounds
that
sounds
they
kind of like
see.
the Animatrix a little bit, like kind of.
I have not seen that.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I like the Animatrix,
Okay.
where it's just kind of all these different animators and different takes on kind of stuff going on in that world, whether it's
Right.
before the Matrix, kind of after it. Generally, it's preceding the events of the Matrix, but
Yeah.
actually, no, that's not true. It's before and after the events of the first
Yeah.
Matrix movie. So, yeah, it sounds kind of like that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
You want to get into The Exorcist now?
Yes, let's do. Oh, the only other thing I wanted to say about the Girl Walks Home Alone at Night is the fact, or is how it was able to combine so many different genres really well and styles. Like it was like
Yeah.
part Western, part kind of neo noir film,
Yeah.
part pulp film, part horror movie. That's one thing like I really liked
Definitely. Yeah.
that I personally liked about Kill List, and as well as many other movies, but that like this, where for me, Kill List was like this hitman, British hitman movie, family drama, horror, satanic cult horror movie, buddy
Yo.
cop comedy. You know what I mean? Like it's all these different things. I
It
love it.
sounds so weird when you say it all at the same time.
Right,
It's like
right,
buddy cop cult satanic murder
yeah.
mystery hitman film buddy cop
You're like, wait, what? He's
extravaganza,
he's
and
making this up.
it's like okay, that's not a movie.
Yeah, exactly. But and then and then we're going back to Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. Also, it's a romance at the same time.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I thought it blended all these things up
Did you think?
into a very cohesive. It didn't feel choppy. It didn't feel like they were
Yeah.
trying to go for these. It just felt like it blended all these genres into a really interesting film and did it very effectively, in my
Okay,
opinion.
I got a question. Did you think that that the girl could see whatever the cat saw? Because do you remember the scene where, and this was a really weird scene, and Hulf was watching it with me, and he said, what the heck is happening when the guy hires his wife, who's a prostitute, to get knocked out, and then he knocks himself out as well, and they just sleep. You
Right.
know what I'm
Oh,
talking about?
I
Okay,
vaguely remember that. Yeah.
okay, there's a part where the cat's in there, and you see they show a shot of the cat's eyes watching them, and then the girl is walking, stops, and turns around as though she like noticed something, and then she just bursts into the room, and I'm thinking, okay, so that must mean that somehow she can see whatever the cat sees, but they never
Yeah,
explain
that's
that ever. They don't like it's just kind of weird.
yeah. I mean, I vaguely remember what you're talking about, and I think I recall thinking that she can see whatever that the cat sees,
Okay,
but I
okay.
can't remember. Where did you land on it? Do you think that she can?
I
Like
think
that's kind
so
of
because
just
I
like
was just thinking, how else then? Why would they do that in that order? You know, it'd just
yeah,
be too
yeah.
bizarre.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, when you're
Yeah,
dealing with vampires and the like, I mean, you kind of just go like, yeah, I guess it's just something they can do. They're a
right,
vampire,
right,
like yeah, I
right.
guess so. At least in this world,
Yeah,
vampires get have that ability.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so The Exorcist.
Yes.
Oh boy. Okay, I just want to preface this right by saying this is what we always say. We're gonna say this every time this happens in a movie. Don't freaking mess with Ouija boards. Like I'm serious, dude. People don't get this, and it confuses me
Is there a Ouija board in this
so
movie?
much. Yes, dude. Do you not remember where, um,
No.
the mom's looking through like the daughter's stuff and goes, "What is this?" and pulls out like a Ouija board, and then the mom is like, okay, show me how it works. And then the daughter's like, okay, well, you put this here, and and it's like, and she I forget what it is. She calls him, what is it, Doctor Hello, Doctor Handy, something like that. And it's her like spirit friend, and
Hmm.
and well, regardless of whether or not you saw it, it's in there. And I'm just like,
Okay.
and again, why are people this dumb? Like,
It's like we
like
have said in previous podcasts
I'm gonna
that
say it
like
every single
worst,
time it happens in a movie. Every
yeah,
single time.
best case scenario, none of this is real and you're just wasting your time,
Right.
which is like like that's not,
Which,
then why do it
okay,
in the first
I
place? Worst
realized,
case scenario, you're gonna get possessed
yeah,
and
yeah.
or
And
whatever that
I
happens in this.
realized something, okay, because I was watching this video, okay. Have you ever heard of what's called Pascal's wager?
I think I have, but
Okay,
remind me.
it's this philosophical wager, basically, okay. That and it's basically this argument for God that okay, it practically makes more sense to believe in God than to not. And the idea is
Right.
that
Yes, I
okay,
do know about
the
this.
idea is that okay, let's say you do believe in God and God's real, you get to go to heaven. Let's say that you believe in God and God's not real, nothing happens. Let's say you don't believe in God and God is real, you go to hell. You don't believe in God and God's not real, nothing happens. Meaning there's more pros to believing in God than not believing in
Right.
God.
Yes, I
Meaning
actually looked
that
this up
whether or
one
not
time.
you actually think there's a logical reason why God's real, it just makes more sense to believe in him because otherwise you're betting that he's not real and the consequences are far greater for not believing in it. And I realize that's exactly what we've been saying about this whole thing. That and here's the thing, I'm just like on both of these topics anyway. Doesn't it make more sense? Like, doesn't it kind of? Like when you think about it really, it's one of those things like, okay, let's say it's not real. Best case, like we said, best case scenario, nothing happens, right?
Right.
Worst case scenario, you get possessed by demons. It's like,
Yeah, you tap into something
why
that
would
you
you
shouldn't
take why
be.
would and as far as like Pascal's wager goes, it's like on both cases, why would you want to take the chance?
Right.
Like
Yeah, no,
what's
that's
like
basically exactly
like
what we're talking
like
about.
I like okay, I'm just thinking about this, okay. Let's say you believe in God. What are the negatives to believing in God?
You waste an hour of your time every Sunday.
Right. It's like, I mean, and also I'm just thinking in general here. Don't people who believe in God tend to be slightly happier than people who don't? Like okay, I've spoken with plenty of atheists before. Like straight up like I think God's totally not real people. Um not what's the people who think there may be a God? Agnostics. That's right.
Agnostic.
Um
Yeah, is that right? Yeah.
yeah, like okay, full on atheist dude. I never see them really that
Agnostic.
happy. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, an
I'm honest.
agnostic is someone who doesn't have an opinion one way or another.
Is it? I thought that it was that they acknowledge that there could be a God, but they don't know. Like it's like you're basically
That might be the
okay.
yeah.
That
Oh,
might be
here
the
I got it.
technical term. That might be the
A
technical term, or what you
and
said might be the technical term.
an agnostic, I just looked it up, is a person who believes that nothing is known or can be known of the existence or nature of God or of anything beyond material phenomena. A person who claims neither faith nor disbelief in God.
Okay, dude. I'm on it. I'll be honest here.
Captain Gray Area.
I've thought about a couple. I've thought a couple times about making like a philosophy podcast because I
Uh-huh.
love philosophy. I've just thought, there's too many idiots in the world, and I feel like if people studied philosophy, then there wouldn't be as many idiots in the world. Don't ask me exactly how that would work. I just feel like if you study philosophy, it just makes you smarter, just as far as decision making goes. You know what I mean? Your belief system
Right.
and stuff that it can't hurt you at all. You know.
Yeah.
Um.
But one way
But
or
yeah.
another, don't mess with Ouija boards.
Right, because it's dumb. It's
Yeah.
it's like dude, it's like doing like extreme sports. Okay,
Right.
best thing that happens, you get a cool viral video that goes up on YouTube, and you don't die. Worst case scenario, you
Yeah,
die.
but that at least has some added value. You know
Some
what I mean?
benefit, but this literally has none.
Yeah.
There's a
No,
none.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. You shouldn't. I mean, worst case scenario, you are tapping into something that you really shouldn't be messing with. You know,
Right.
like that's just yeah. No, I hear you. I actually forgot that there was a Ouija board in this, man. Just don't mess with them.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
Yeah, so let's just establish like
No,
the general idea of what's happening. So we got our priest dude, okay, over here, who's this whole movie is his audition tape to become Rocky. Um
right. Yeah.
because okay, please tell me you agree. There's
Oh
so
yeah.
much of this. It feels like dude, it feels like this guy wanted to be Rocky. Like this
Yeah.
is
Well, he looks
his
exactly like
trying
him.
out his try like his workout tape and like, hey man,
Right.
I should be Rocky. And I gotta say, first time I saw the guy, I was like, should have been played by Al Pacino
Hmm. That would
because
have been interesting.
he's an Italian dude and he's got black hair. Why not Al
Right.
Pacino? You know, it's like
Yeah.
he's the best Italian black haired man in the world,
Mm-hmm.
at least the
Yeah.
world of acting. Um, but yeah, although I'm not sure that I don't know. Maybe he couldn't. Maybe he wouldn't be able to pull it off. You know,
Who?
Al Pacino. What do you think?
Oh
You
man,
think he
I
could
actually
have?
think Al Pacino could have. I mean, he's a phenomenal actor. I mean, I don't know.
Right.
I can't remember how old he was. Maybe he might have been too young for the role at that time.
Well,
But I mean,
okay.
that would have
When
been
was but
prime
when
for
was
him
The
to chew on.
Godfather made though? When was that made?
Yeah,
Like I thought it was.
70, 72 maybe.
So then, when did this movie come out?
So,
78?
oh, I'm right.
Like
Jeez,
78?
pulled that one out. This is 73.
Okay, so he would probably be about the same age as this guy.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, that's about right.
and
Yeah,
maybe just like a little bit of like rugged makeup makes you
right.
look a little bit more aged.
Right. Well,
Um,
hell, I mean, they were able to pull off the makeup with Max von Sydow so well. They could easily put a little makeup on Al
oh
Pacino. Man,
yeah.
Max von Sydow looks older at whatever age he was whenever he filmed this movie than he does today.
Which who is that exactly?
So, so he's the
Max
guy who
von,
plays Father Marin. He's the old priest.
the really
Like,
old one that
yeah, it comes in at
shows
the
up
end of the
at the end
movie.
of the movie. Okay,
Yeah, I
okay.
mean, and he's
Because
like a
I was thinking this guy looks like he's about to die.
right.
Like
Yeah, I mean,
I
I
mean
think he was like
he's pale all the time. Like he looks like a ghost.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he was like in his 30s whenever he filmed this, and he
You've got to be
looks.
kidding.
Oh no, I swear to it. I mean, if
That
you look
he
him
would
up,
look.
he's
That's some good makeup. There's a lot of good makeup in this
right.
movie though, because like, okay, that girl, dude, is the freakiest looking thing I've ever seen. I
Yeah,
was
he was.
constantly like, holy cow!
Oh,
Like
I think.
I'd leave so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd go as far as to say that in terms of like scariest just
Makeup,
person of any like
yeah,
horror movie I've ever seen, I think that she might take the cake. I mean, just in
that
pure
would be a fair argument, yeah.
she is absolutely terrifying in
Cause
this in
dude,
this movie.
Because, dude,
I,
this is the only time I've really seen like an Exorcist movie where the exorci what is it exorci exor
exorcism.
exorc the no, I mean like the person who's being exorcised
Oh,
has
I
having
don't
an
San
exorcism
Diegans. I don't know. I don't know
whatever
how to
the
pronounce
person who's
it.
having this exorcism performed on them that this is one of the only times I've really seen them violent, as in like
Right.
kill people, like try to kill. I mean, she does kill somebody, you know,
Yeah.
like
And oh my, like honestly, the just the venom coming out of her mouth, the
dude.
things that she says,
Oh
it's
yeah.
just
Oh, I thought you
so
meant like the literal, like the
right.
vomit at first.
The
But
yeah,
yeah,
the
everything
pea
she says,
soup
dude.
at the end of the yeah.
Everything. Yeah. Okay. I just want to say this too. This is another great example of why science does not solve everything. You know what I mean? Because I thought the movie was interesting. How it's like, okay, the mom first goes to like a doctor, then a psychiatrist, and none of those work. Like,
Right.
and it's weird, dude, because it's such an interesting not I mean whether or not it's intentional I don't really care, but like I thought it was an interesting commentary on how in Western culture we are much more for science than superstition. We always prefer science to superstition because science we can explain and control and stuff like that, right? But like superstition I feel is a lot scarier, you know? Like
Oh
science
yeah.
isn't all that scary, but like if you bring up like ghosts, demons, vampires, whatever, people are then like, yeah, right. Because people, I think it's because people don't want to have to think that stuff's real, you know.
Sure, yeah,
But
absolutely.
also because we feel like we're much more advanced because we don't believe in stuff like that.
Right.
Yet at the same time, when it comes down to the wire, people will try to go for superstition versus science any day. You know, like that's why you
Yeah.
see. That's why you see, for instance, like when in a movie, when everything goes really bad, you'll see like a cult, essentially a cult formed. You know what I mean? Where it's like the people will just kind of go crazy in a really bad situation. Like,
Yeah.
regardless of if it makes sense or not, they just will. You know, because
Hmm.
people want the weird answer at that point because they feel like they want something that's simple, regardless of whether or not it makes sense to them or not. Um, but dude, I was so mad at all the doctors. Like, no, like shouldn't you just tell her we have no clue what's happening? You know what I mean? Like they constantly keep going. Like, okay, there's nothing in her brain that's making her do all this. But here, take all these medications. It's like,
Right.
why are you doing that? Like, you know what I mean? And that was the thing. It was like I thought it was so bizarre. It's like, and it spoke to like how much people think that medication also helps too. Um, that like, oh, as long as you take drugs, all your problems will be solved. That's kind of what we've
Yeah.
built up over the years. You know, is that we think, okay, whatever your doctor tells you, just do it and you'll be fine. You know,
Yeah, I mean, but it is hard to sit there and expect a doctor to be like, we're we're not really sure, but
it's a
maybe you should
demon.
go. Maybe, yeah,
Yeah,
it's a demon. Maybe you should go talk to a priest. I mean,
right.
it's not
But at the sa-
really.
yeah, but at the same time, I feel like the doctor should have said, "There's no scientific explanation for this."
Well, and that's fair for them to be like, hey, look, we don't know what it is. Okay,
Right.
go get another opinion,
Which,
or
right,
but
right.
we don't
Which
know.
I would say that's what a doctor should always do.
Right.
Not be like, okay, let's just experiment and see if it works. You know, because
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
if it defies science, then you gotta think, okay, this is in like some divine stuff now. You know, um,
yeah, there's some, or there's if they can't figure out, they can't figure it out scientifically. Maybe there's just a psychological, issue. Maybe
right,
maybe
right.
she's bipolar. Maybe there's plenty of other avenues that could have been,
But
they could have gone
you
down.
gotta. Here's the
To,
thing that really made me think is stuff like when she leaps, like she's like floating at points, or
oh, yeah.
the
I mean,
bed is
that's
shaking, like the bed is moving by itself,
right.
or
Yeah,
like okay, or like okay,
that's when you huddle back up and start you know
right,
looking at things
okay.
differently.
Also, how old is this girl? Like
She like 9,
nine,
10,
probably
11.
10. Yeah, I would say probably no older than like maybe 10.
Yeah.
Um, and yet
She looks I think
and
she
yet
looks older than she looks older than she's actually. It's like when they put like 25-year-olds in high school, in movies.
right,
It's like I think the age is supposed to be like 10 even though she's like probably like 14 or something, or
right,
15 in the
right.
movie.
But like, okay, so she's saying stuff that like a 10-year-old would not know what that means. You know what I
Dude, the
mean?
things that she says are
Or
just
dude,
awful.
she'd be doing stuff that she doesn't know what, you know what I mean? Okay.
Yeah.
Um
Like
when
her head
that's
spinning
or
around.
that psychiatrist dude, she like grabs him uh you know what I'm talking about?
I think so. I'm trying to remember though
Yeah,
with the psychiatrist.
she crushes his nuts. And
Ah, yes, that's right. I do remember
okay,
that.
okay. A 10-year-old's not gonna know how to do what that,
No,
you know what
unless
I
she's
mean?
like a hardcore rock climber or something, has
Or
like a killer grip.
yeah. Also, yeah, that
I
too.
don't think that they had a lot of that in the DC, Washington DC area, which is where they're supposed to be.
Yeah. Or when she's using the you know the scene where she's using the cross,
Oh God.
quote unquote using,
Yeah. Yes.
and then
Oh
dude,
yeah, I know that
like
scene.
dude, okay, no, like no, like I'm
Well, that's
sorry.
what makes this movie so terrifying to me, amongst many reasons, is I literally don't know what to do for this girl.
Right,
I have
that's
I
the
have
thing.
no
Is
idea
that
what to do
like
for her.
that's the
I'm
thing.
trying to come up as the viewer. I'm trying to come up with solutions, and I'm like, I got nothing. I
And
got nothing for
even
you.
when even that's why I thought it was so crazy though is like even when Sylvester Stallone is like is at the house, he's just like, holy cow, what the heck am I supposed to do? Like, this is
Yeah,
above my
yeah,
pay
absolutely.
grade. And
That's one
then
of my. I think I don't remember if it's when he comes in, or I think he probably comes in after. But that line, again, there's so many lines in this movie that she delivers that you can't help. At least I couldn't help but be mortified yet laughing at the same time. Where she's like, "Do you know what she did? Your bleeping daughter!" Like, where did that accent come from? And
right,
where did that little
okay,
girl learn to use that kind of
it's like
language?
The Conjuring 2, where you got to question what is really the likelihood. Like here's the thing, okay, this is where it gets. This is why one reason why I tend to have issues with science on like when it comes to like stuff that you can't necessarily explain is that people will go, okay, well there's like a 1% chance that your daughter has split personality disorder. The 99% chance is that it's like something we'd have no clue. You know what I mean? And it's
Right.
okay, I'm a pretty pragmatic person, okay? I just think
Hmm.
that it makes more sense because you cannot just go, well, okay, we don't know that it's this. We don't know that it's demons. You know what I mean? I mean, there's a huge possibility, but we don't know that. I mean, there's still like like 1 in 2 billion people get this particular brain disorder. And sure, she doesn't show anything at the moment, but it could. You know what I mean? You're stretching it so far that it's it's like people get so wrapped up into it and then they don't even think about how it sounds, you know?
You mean like saying like there's a 1% chance
Right, that
that
there's like this insignificant chance that maybe it's not what everyone's thinking it is, and maybe there actually is a scientific answer to it. Like, I'm sorry, but you should probably go with the more likely option at that point. You know what I mean? Like, if everything is defying physics and science up till that point, why is it you should all of a sudden be like, okay, well, there's a 1% chance that she just needs psychiatric help. Okay, where's the psychiatrist? It's like, no, go with the more likely option
he's in
first.
the hospital getting
Right,
his genitals looked at or
right.
whatever's
Okay, okay. I'm sorry. You. And then what's worse though is that when she starts like floating off the bed a little bit, the mom goes, she was floating, and the doctors go, well, people gain increased strength when they have these episodes. And I'm just like, you saw it, you know, like you
right.
saw it happen. You know,
Yeah,
that's why I think there's just people do that like won't ever be able to believe in God. You know, like there, you know how you hear people say, um, if I saw it, then I'd believe. You
well,
know,
yeah, I mean that's just that contradicts the whole idea of faith in the first place. I
right,
mean
right.
that's
And I think also if you're that kind of person, you just don't want to believe. Like it's just that one of those things. It's like if you don't want to believe in it, you're not gonna believe because you see something happen. Especially nowadays, dude. Especially because, like, okay, imagine if there was a video, dude, of in New York City, where literally like the hand of God came out of the sky and did I don't know shot lightning onto the Empire State Building or whatever. All the people who don't want to believe are gonna go special effects, fake. It was there was some like weird gas in the sky. Um, it was that
some
it
like
was
men in black excuses
right.
like
It's there. You can always find excuses. Is the thing you can always find reasons not to believe in it, but the question is at what point is the more likely option to believe? You know?
yeah, I mean it's hard to say in the circumstance just because it's like you could also view it as like Well, it could be viewed as very irresponsible to just assume it's a higher authority, some higher authority that's taken over this girl, like in order to act, you got to have some kind of evidence of something, otherwise
Right, but
your action could be harmful because it's the
right.
wrong action to be taken.
I get that, but okay, also think of it this way, okay. What in that situation, what is the more practical option to do?
Well,
You know?
did the doctors see her floating?
Yeah, they were in there. Oh, they were there when everything, all these weird things happened. They saw
Uh,
all this stuff happen. So that's what makes me
yeah,
think, dude. At what point are you going to be like, no, the more practical option isn't science, you know? Like it just
yeah,
isn't,
that's
because it's just like
it's
you
tough.
can't. Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing: it's just a part of our culture at this point that we're programmed from birth. I don't want to say programmed, but we're taught that science has the answer. If you
Yeah,
get hurt, you should go to a doctor, not a witch doctor. You know, it's like it's just
right.
what you should do. Um,
Well, and I think that's part of that's another aspect of the horror is that even the people that we're supposed to be trusting, i.e., these doctors, um, they are not providing a true solution, which is just causing you to be that much more confined to this nightmarish experience. The people that you trust, you're like, oh, something happened? Yeah, go to a doctor. It's like these doctors can't even you know they
right,
aren't even
and
helping, so we're
see that's
just
why
that
I
much more
think
stuck
yeah,
in this nightmare
which I
because
think.
they're yeah,
I was just gonna say I think that's it's almost like a way of showing the pride of human beings and how we always want to think what we want to think, not what's actually right in front of us.
sure,
Like
yeah,
despite the fact that it's right there and we know it in our like deep down, we don't want to have to admit that's it because then that's something that we don't want to have to deal with.
yeah. No, I get that. By the way, so you said you saw this is the first time you saw this movie, right?
Yes.
So, what was your kind of experience watching this for the first time? Because I personally envy that this is the first time you got to see it because this is, I mean, God, I remember watching this back in the day for the first time, and it absolutely terrified me on a whole other level. What did it do for you? What did you walk away from this movie, thinking and all that?
I walked away thinking, why is Sylvester Stallone in this movie? Not really.
That's the
Not,
number one, huh? That's top of the
yeah.
list.
Well, okay. I walked away from this movie, dude, thinking I was just like, wow, that was really, really scary. Like, and it's scarier, dude, when you believe in God. Is the thing. Like for somebody who doesn't believe in God, would probably just view this as like a fantasy, you know. But it's
Right.
like it's freakier when you believe in God, because then you believe this can still happen.
Yeah, and
You know what
even
I
if
mean?
you don't believe in God, I feel like you should be able to come to terms that like, okay, so God is real in this world,
Right.
So like
Yeah.
in that sense, you can still go to a place of, man, this movie's terrifying because in this world, clearly demons and whatnot are
Right.
real. Now, whether
Right.
you want to plead that, in our own
I'm
world,
positive though that
that's
there were a bunch of atheist people when this movie came out. Like, yeah, right. You know what I mean? Like
I
they were
gotta.
those people, the people that are just like smug about whatever they see.
Well, see, that's their fault as a viewer then, because
Yeah.
you got to
Yeah.
leave that stuff at the door if you're going to be, a self-respecting, movie appreciator. You got to put
Yeah.
that stuff away
Like,
because you got to go. Well, you know what? Regardless of my beliefs in this world, clearly, demons, God, that stuff is real
right.
in the movie I'm watching. So now
It's the
that
same
we've
thing. It's
established
this,
that,
and the
so
yeah.
we got to move forward with that understanding and put our own stuff aside.
It's the
You
same
know.
kind of. It's the same kind of thing, dude. Of like if a Christian was to watch Supernatural, the show Supernatural, and then
Yeah.
go, well, that's not really what that Bible verse means when you use that. It's like, okay, it's a fictional show. in which they're
Right.
kind of trying, they're stretching it a bit to get this show across. Like it's supposed to
Sure. Yeah.
entertain you in a way so that you can, and it has like some good messages in it and stuff. And I thought before, like it actually does kind of stick to the Bible. I mean, it like, of course, I'm not saying that like, oh, just watch this show and you'll understand the Bible and whatever. But it like, it doesn't go off like super far, you know. It goes off a little pretty far, but like, not to where like. And
Right.
then another thing, dude, is that I always think this is weird, is that like it's not promoting like you to become a Satanist, you know, which is what
What,
a lot of people have issues with it because it's not
the
totally.
Exorcist or
No, just
Supernatural?
well, shows in general, movies and shows in general that deal with stuff like that. Like a lot of people think that it's like sinful to show stuff like that.
Oh,
But
oh
I
my
always,
God.
but
Okay. Okay.
I always think though, it's showing though, it's not showing that in a good light. You know what I mean? That's why I think
Yeah,
that's why
but
I always think
also
that's why I always like horror movies because it's like, no, it really like shows you how bad like satanic stuff is. Like I can't think of a horror
right.
movie in which it's like,
And
oh yeah, become a Satanist and everything will be wonderful for you. You know what I mean? It's sort of
yeah, and look, too many people, and they're probably the same. We're probably talking about the same people, but too many people think that every movie and every show is trying to deliver a message, that they're trying to say something.
yes,
Not
yes,
necessarily. Not necessarily. They're most of the time they're just trying to tell a story. So
right,
get over it.
right.
Like they're just
Well,
telling a fictional
and
story.
here's the other
Like
thing.
I think
Here's the
it's
other thing is that they'll look at it at face value and then say that's the message. The message is its face value, is its cover. You know, that's
right.
what it wants
Yeah,
you.
and that's when
Yeah, like okay, you could. I mean, there's plenty of movies, dude. That, like you could say, uh, have some kind of. If you looked at it at face value and go, oh, well, that's a satanic movie, and then you can look at it even further and then go, well, no, it's more like a Christian kind of story. Like I once heard, dude, and I think this guy's kind of pretty crazy. Um, this dude was saying that the Dark Knight Returns, I mean the Dark Knight Rises, that it was like this satanic message kind of thing. Okay, um, because of I forgot what it is. It's like, gosh, I can't even remember. But Batman represents like Satan, and Satan winning because he gets cast out, and then he returns and defeats. I don't know if they were trying to say that like God is Bane in the movie.
that's silly.
But what I thought, dude, was that it to me, it reminded me. I was watching the video and I was like, I can interpret that in totally the reverse way and go that Batman
Right.
represents Jesus being
Right.
killed and put in the tomb and then rising and then coming back and beating Bane. It's like
Well, and you can honestly, you can to your point, like you can interpret anything any which way you want to.
of course,
You
yeah,
can
yeah,
put this and this and interpret. Oh, I think this represents this, and this is symbolism for this, and this is a metaphor for.
right,
And it's just like, yeah, you can do that, and that's kind of fun to listen to, like a
right,
ridiculous, thought like about Batman being the devil. But in that movie, that's kind of fun actually to hear people's, like, oh yeah, that's silly, but that's kind of a funny way of interpreting it.
well, okay,
I
I
hope
just
people
want
overly. A lot of times
yeah,
people see whatever they want to see, and
absolutely,
that guy to me is just going. He's applying whatever lens that he wants to, and
right,
he's applying it to The Dark Knight Rises, and is interpreting it with that very specific lens already in mind, as opposed to just kind of letting the movie wash over him. And again, people see what they want, whatever they want to see.
right. Well, here's another thing, dude. I think this is the biggest problem I have with just the world in general. And it goes into movies too, is that people can't handle other people's views on stuff. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like people, when they see a view that they disagree with, they then freak out, like the world's about to end. You know,
Right.
and most people, when I say that, most people, the thing that'll come to mind the most is the college campus social justice warrior that is like, I need my safe space. Where's my safe space? Um, But it also happens with like conservative people too. Like if you bring up to a conservative person like I think we should ban all guns, they'll be like, "How dare you, you un-American piece of trash?" Like they'll freak
Right.
out too. Um, Not necessarily. I'm not saying that, and this is not everyone. I'm not talking about like everyone on both sides always does this,
Right. But like the
but yeah,
hypothetical
but
them.
but the and see that's the thing, dude, is that like okay, I was talking to somebody about this, okay, is that originally back in like let's say the 20th century, okay, for a lot of the 20th century, there were a lot of like conservative, and the person used like Christian customs, okay, stuff like you weren't very much liked if you were divorced. Um, uh, People didn't like gay people at all. Black people were not treated very well. Um, Stuff like that, which aren't those aren't like Christian customs, but you get what I mean. That there were like um, more rules that people thought of, like for instance, well, like the gay thing, that it wasn't acceptable to be gay, stuff like that, and it sort of turned into this sort of bullying, by a lot of society against those people, um, because they found them intolerable. And now it's kind of become a lot of the reverse, I feel, where now we live in a politically correct culture where PC customs are required, where you're not allowed to speak out against anyone, but they can speak out against you, you know? Like you wouldn't have heard any ideas about like Caitlyn Jenner, being a thing back in like the 50s, right? Uh,
Right.
but now it's like anyone who wishes to speak out against Caitlyn Jenner are thought of as like bad people. You know, they're a lot of them. They're demonized by a lot of the like social justice warrior people. Um, and I was talking to this person. I was saying, I hope that means that we're coming to a more middle of the road thinking, where we don't have to go, okay, these people are unacceptable, these people are acceptable, and there's just no room in between. Like you cannot, these people are just wrong, and we just have to think of them as wrong forever. Okay, don't ask them any questions. Don't consider anything that they say, um, and then just blindly follow what we tell you over here in this camp. Like I hate that I hate that mentality of like
Yeah, I
whichever
get that.
camp you're in, you need to make sure that you like. Okay, I think that we would all come to a much larger agreement if we weren't so isolated with our own ideas. Like if we listen to other people's opinions and through like debate. See, that's why I like philosophy. Is because philosophy is just like a tornado of ideas and beliefs. You know, and
Yeah.
it allows for the fact that you may be wrong, and allows you to test the fact that you may be wrong, and then what the certain people's beliefs can be backed up or torn down by philosophy. Um, but I wonder now, like I've thought about this before, dude. Is that wouldn't it be cool if, like in high school, there was a mandatory philosophy class? Because like how you have to take 1 year of philosophy in college. What if it was that way too in high school? Like you think about that, that gets people thinking about stuff much earlier in life, before they've
Yeah.
already
Probably not a bad idea.
established all of their opinions and stuff like that. Because here's and I'm not and a lot of people would say, well, no, that's a horrible idea because it might destroy somebody's faith in God or whatever it is that they believe. But the way I see it, okay, is that it can equally just be applied to strengthen your beliefs. Like we talked
Yeah.
about like Pascal's wager. Like I think that's just like and okay, so like with Pascal's wager, people came up with the argument for, um, well, okay, just because of that does not mean that you should believe in the Christian God, right? Because it doesn't. The Pascal's wager doesn't mean, oh, this is why the Christian God is real. This just means that here's why you should believe in a God. Okay, so that's what most atheists
Right.
have the argument for, is that uh, this argument doesn't constitute the fact that the Christian God's real. But what I've always thought is also that I realized this yesterday, is that argument does not is not an atheist argument at that point. You know what I mean? Like if you argue Well, that doesn't necessarily prove the Christian God. That's not a reason for why a God doesn't exist. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like if you, I
Yeah.
didn't think about that before, but it just means okay, then there is a God, but which God is the right God? Wouldn't which
Yeah.
isn't that interesting? You never hear that anyone ever say that. It's always when I hear a Christian argue with an atheist, it always comes down to, well, how does that prove the Christian God is the real God? And then it kind of just ends because they're just like, well, here's these super minute details that may or may not, constitute that. But like, partially, I just think, like, I don't know, like, I don't want to go on forever. But you get my point. Is that it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
people should just just listen to people, just think about it, use your brain too. Also, that's another thing that people don't
I
do.
well, I agree. I 100% agree with that. Not enough people use not enough people use their brain, and not enough people can just. It's
Right.
amazing to like you hear people like. Here's a perfect example. That's away from religion, but it's the Marvel versus DC uh, dilemma that like, oh, you have people on both sides, and it's like, why can't you just like both? Why do I have to be
Yeah, yeah.
a DC fan?
Or
I
like here's
can
the other
enjoy
thing.
both.
You know what's
I can
here's
hear why you appreciate Marvel more than DC, but it
right.
doesn't mean that
And this is
I have
what's
to hate you
this
and
is what is
you know.
horrible, okay? You could, which is interesting. You could compare the Marvel versus DC debate to like conservatives versus liberals in a way. Because both of them, dude, never ever ever once think for a split second, maybe they're right. Maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe I should think about
Right.
the fact that I might be wrong. Just all they do is come up with reasons why they're right, not, let me hear what they have to say about why it is that they're right. And the other side do the same. Because if that happened, dude, think about it, okay? Everyone would probably just come to an agreement.
Right. Yeah.
Because if you think about that, dude, everyone on the whole planet might have like a agreed belief system then. Because we just think about it in a calm manner to where we just understand what we, what every and then, for instance, okay, if let's say that there was a split, let's say that there was still some kind of two different sides, all right, we'll just say it's two different sides, then they could just say, okay, you guys believe what you want to believe, and we'll believe what we want to believe, and then just like separate. And then if they want to discuss it any further, then they can continue to do so after like generations and generations continue. But like that's it. Like there's no more arguing then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Right.
like it's over. Dude, that would be
Oh.
like the perfect world to me. Like if it was
See,
just
that's why I don't most of the time I don't discuss religion and politics with people because kind of like you said, not enough people just step back and think about it or
right. Right.
can't, they're just they're set in their ways and I'm like I don't want to have a discussion with someone like that, whether it's
Which is why which
far
is
left, far
yeah.
right, or even
Which is
people who are like, yeah, I just most people can't have a conversation, and so as a result, it just ends
absolutely.
up
Yeah.
them kind of become cementing their own opinion as as they defend their thoughts and opinion, and I'm just like,
Right.
you're just becoming stronger belief as you defend your own thoughts and opinion. You're just becoming more
Yeah.
cemented in that place, and what's the point in you know
Right. Well,
putting what is it? What does Batman say? There, the Joker in the Dark Knight, the
um
immovable or unstoppable force meets immovable
yeah.
object
Yeah.
kind of thing. It's like you're just we're not going anywhere
Right.
anywhere with this,
Well,
but
that's why I always, okay, whenever I mention like religion or politics, I always bring up what the other side's argument is right after. Like I
right,
said, Pascal, I brought up Pascal's wager, and then I brought up the fact that, well, most atheists would say, well, that doesn't prove the Christian God, because I think it's good to give the other person a fair chance. Like you should not, okay, you should never do something that makes your side look better, just to make it look better. Just
yeah,
to give off the appearance that, oh, I'm right and you're wrong, so that way you can appear to everyone else as though you're right. Um, and dude, here's the thing. Okay, I can absolutely admit there's a lot of smart atheist people in the world. There's absolutely
hmm
and there has been for a long time, because I think that people get this idea that that you can't be smart and disagree with me at the same time, which is
Yeah.
weird. You know, it's like atheist people can have intelligent ideas as well. I may disagree with
Yeah.
them, but they
Right.
can still be intelligent and be good questions and all kinds of different things. It's like, and although here's what I see a lot is, and I don't want to, and this isn't only towards, like, this isn't only allowed by like atheists, but it feels like a lot of atheists though are very stiff in what they believe though. They're very stiff, and I think a lot of Christians are very stiff in their beliefs. But it makes more sense to me for Christians than for atheists. Like, okay, why exactly would you ever want to believe there is no God? Like I'm just talking. Like, okay, here's actually a good example. You ever heard of the European philosopher Voltaire?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a quote where Voltaire says, "If God is not real, then it is man's duty to create him." And the idea is that regardless of whether or not God's real, it's still it's supposed to be man's job to create him, because of the fact that we still need to believe in him, even if he's not real. Because if you think about it, dude, think about how many people believe in God. Imagine if you just took that away all of a sudden. Imagine how that would hurt like society and everything. That would like change the world all of a sudden. You know?
Yeah. 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 I mean, it would be. Go ask some people over in the Middle East. It might be nice not to, if everyone just generally did not believe in God. It'd be like, well,
Right.
no, we don't have
Yeah.
to have. Maybe we wouldn't have been fighting for
Well,
centuries.
see, that's another thing. Everyone needs to stop complaining about Western culture. You know what I mean? Like, everybody needs to stop thinking right now that like the people that we're supposed to be against are, like, okay, conservatives and liberals, and gosh, we just can't, I cannot stand you, and yada yada yada. But dude, I don't think people get that, like, over in the Middle East we got people that don't want the idea of sharing ideas, like, and like a lot of people,
Right.
like they want the
Hmm.
idea of it, almost like communism in a way, just total control over your beliefs and what you can think, what you can do. And that could, like, okay, that would be the ultimate saddest way to live for me, because it's like living, you ever read the book 1984?
Yeah.
It's like that, you know
Right.
it's
Yeah.
like, and dude, I find that book always so fascinating. It's one of my favorite
It's a
books,
good
just
book.
because it's
It's a good book.
because it's and it's really interesting. And this is another reason why I like philosophy, is because that one point in the book, I'm not sure if you remember, where the main character is being tortured, and they keep asking him, how many lights are there in front of you, and there's four. And whenever he says four, they like shock him and say, no, there's five. And they continue to do that over and over and over again until he actually believes that there's five.
Right.
And I thought, like, see, that's the thing, is that can happen to you really easily. And that's why philosophy is so important, is because then it allows you to think differently and to hear other ideas, that, maybe there aren't five lights, maybe there are four, maybe there are two, you know um
Right. Well,
so
the
yeah.
one thing, and I want to bring it back to the
Right.
Exorcist. The one thing I think most people can agree with, whether wherever you come from, is that this movie's freaking terrifying. This
Absolutely.
this is one of the, I think, I have not, normally you have, everyone's got an opinion, and rarely does, do I have a discussion with, people about movies, and, rarely do we always agree on something. You always have
Hmm.
someone who's like, no, no, and they,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
see it on the flip side of
It's
the
like if
coin.
you watch a artsy indie movie, you're gonna get hugely different opinions about it,
Yeah, exactly. But I have yet to meet anyone who had not found The Exorcist to be utterly terrifying.
Yeah,
I think it's one of the only, truly one of the only movies where
yeah.
every single person I've talked to has been on the exact same page, that it is academically horrifying.
Yeah.
And
Which, dude, I gotta say though, I was thinking, I just thought about this. I wonder if that movie is actually like cursed. You see, you know how like all the this stuff happened on set, like
right, I
there all
heard
these
about
weird,
that. Yeah,
freaky things happen. I wonder, like, I just wonder this, just
yeah,
possibly,
that would be creepy.
if the reason that whole movie's scary is because there's like a literal feeling that emanates from the movie,
Well, I'll tell
like
you one. I'll
like
tell you one reason why this movie is so scary is whether or not it is cursed or not. One of the reasons why this movie is so terrifying is due to an actress named Mercedes McCambridge. She's the woman who did all the voices of the demon,
oh
like
yeah,
in like the second, like whenever she goes full on possessed,
yep,
in the bed and everything. So, just as a quick kind of fun fact, this woman she actually did other movies. Like she's an actress. She's an actress. She didn't.
okay,
This is not like a one-off thing. But she apparently, to create this distorted voice that you hear come out, this completely unnatural voice come out of this girl. It's not the actress, the girl who plays Regan. I
mm,
forgot what her name is. But what's her name here? I got it right here.
girl,
Um, the girl, yeah. What's who plays Regan?
girl
Linda
number
Blair.
two,
Girl number two, Linda Blair. She's the person who plays.
okay,
She's the actress who plays Regan, or Regan. Can't remember how to pronounce it. But
Reagan, I think.
it's not. Yeah, it's not her voice. It's this woman, Mercedes McCambridge. And apparently, to prepare for doing the voice, this is disturbing. She would chain smoke, and she got off the wagon from drinking alcohol. Apparently, she had alcohol problems, and she got off the wagon and would just drink whiskey all day. And she would drink raw eggs, and basically just take all this mess of stuff of like gunk in her body and like in her throat and everything, and just come up with the most unnatural, horrifying sounds. And apparently, the director actually tied her to a chair and made it so that it tied her, like her arm, her wrists, her feet, and her neck to a chair. And they actually recorded her restrained, so such that it really felt like she was actually restrained with these things that Regan are. She's actually tied to her own bed.
Dude,
So,
that's some real method acting.
dude,
Like
right?
okay,
Are you
that's okay,
kidding me
listen.
with that?
Okay, listen. That takes Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder to new heights.
Right.
You ever
Oh my
seen
god.
Tropic Thunder, dude?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, that's
Never
a great movie.
never go full retard.
Yeah. No.
Best
That's a
line in
great
that whole
movie.
movie. Dude. Okay, really quick. I would be so upset if anyone said that movie was racist. I'd be so upset. Because dude, it listen, get over it. Like it's not like it I mean, it's funny.
It's funny.
And
Okay,
it's
like here's the thing.
listen,
I, I,
most people
I,
aren't gonna find racist stuff funny. Okay?
yeah. Look, here's the thing. I actually, I watched a stand up. It's Daniel Tosh. It does Tosh Point oh. He
Okay.
has this new stand up. I think it came out last year. And at one point, he says during the thing, he goes, or during his bit, he goes, just know that if you've ever said the words, "There's nothing funny about X," just know that I hate you to your core. Because like you can always make something funny out of something. You know what I mean? You can
That's true,
there's
yeah.
always comedy in something.
Yeah.
It's about making, you can be an adult about it
Yeah.
and just make a funny joke about it, and I don't know, I people who are trying to find, like there's racism in the whole Robert Downey Jr. and Tropic Thunder thing. I feel like, again, we kind of mentioned it earlier, or someone who's looking for that and trying to force
Right.
the issue a little bit. I
Right.
mean, it's just funny.
And
It's just a funny bit.
here's something though that I can't stand, dude, is that there's this perception that's given off by that's how a vast majority of people think. You know what I mean? Like here's what I found is that the vast majority of people do not care. You know why? Because they're not saying anything. If you
Right.
notice, it's the vocal minority. It's the people who don't talk are the people who matter. You know? They're
Yeah.
the people who are the majority. Which nobody ever seems to acknowledge. Like it's sort of like on the internet. You would get a very warped perception of how people are based entirely off the internet. You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but it's that's the thing. I don't. It's basically the idea of empiricism, where you're gathering truth from your experience and your senses, as though that's what it is. And I always think it's kind of like, for instance, depending on where you grow up, that's how you will forever see the world, basically, unless you have an
Sure.
experience that changes that. You should not live. You should not gather your views that way. Don't let,
Sure.
for instance, where you grow up be the determining factor of that. like
Yeah.
like okay, if you grow up in a poor, more lower income area of town, you're gonna probably think the world is probably a much worse place, or that Democrats are all right all the time, or Republicans are bad people, or and they hate poor people, or whatever. Then when you if you were to grow up somewhere higher income, okay, I don't think people get that your views would absolutely change if you were somewhere else, and that you need to look at all the different views and determine which of them makes the most sense. You know, like
Mm.
you cannot just limit yourself to your own experience.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just want to say that I just love ranting about stuff. Um, but so yeah, okay, this movie, dude. Okay, I gotta say the I could not. I don't think I could willingly let myself be tied up and do all that to my voice for a
Yeah, I mean,
movie. Like that would
I
take
the thing
so
that
much.
the
Like,
thing that really boggles my mind is that she was sober for like I think several years because she had I think she was an alcoholic, or she certainly had
right,
alcohol abuse issues, and she, to her credit, got sober and got past that difficulty, and got past that addiction. Yet it was so important to her, and this is why I'm like, God love you for doing, for having such dedication, that she was willing to break her own sobriety in order to capture what she knows she needed to do. She
right,
knew what she had to do to capture this
yeah.
voice, and
I'm sure,
to her
and I'm sure
credit,
she
she
had a
she did
huge.
it.
I'm sure she had a bunch of like friends and stuff like hang out with her and be like, okay, no alcohol. Like after all that,
Right, right, and
at least that would
yeah,
be the
yeah,
smart thing to do.
sure, yeah, but I mean, like, that's a lot to ask, and for her to just do it
Yeah,
willingly, I don't think the director asked her to do it. She just said, "What do you want? You want this kind of voice? Well, all right, give me, a bottle of whiskey, give me a bottle of Jack, give me 4 cartons of cigarettes, and a few cartons of eggs." And I can't believe she just drank raw eggs. That's insane.
dude, I've always thought like, okay, I won't do that. I don't care. Like I don't care. It's kind of like when you hear like vegans talking, and they're
Yeah,
like, you shouldn't eat meat, man, because you're harming animals. Dude, listen, I'm above a cow. I just am, and cows taste good. It's like,
yeah,
okay, dude, I told somebody this last night. I made this like podcast like 3 a.m. last night, just for the sake of I just wanted to be able to say whatever I want, and then blame it on the fact that I was tired. If people disagree, if people disagreed with
yeah,
me, um, and so I was telling this guy that, listen, if aliens come to Earth, let's just say, for instance, okay, there's this higher species of creature out there, okay, and they're aliens, and they are much better than us. They got, like, I don't know, rocket boots when they're born,
yeah. They
uh,
have like
laser eyes, psychic
extra
powers,
sensory perception. Like they can
right,
communicate
whatever.
via
Yeah,
via their mind
all
and all
that,
this.
all that. Yeah, if they come here, they have every right to murder all of us.
It's
They
kind of true.
just do, because you know what? That's how the food chain works.
It's true.
It's
Yeah,
like it's like
Darwinism.
for instance, dude. And I don't even necessarily agree with Darwinism on everything, but like it's like if you see a chicken out there, you have the right to kill that chicken, like and
If it's
eat it,
yours.
right? Because well, here's the thing. Okay, I think it's perfectly acceptable to kill animals for food. Because why else are they here then? It's like they must be here for us to eat. Um, and then now that's not. I don't think that animal cruelty is okay. I'm not saying that oh, you should be able to like chop baby chickens into pieces with a giant, I don't know, whatever machine. Um, which, I mean, there's certainly, like some animal cruelty in places, but like the idea of like don't eat any meat at all, I'm just like, no, like that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
It's just
we're in the
it's
same camp on that one.
it's too far out there. Because
Yeah.
again, dude, if aliens showed up, if aliens were real, I wouldn't, on a logical level, what there's no argument you can make to say, well, no, the sanctity of life is above all else. It's like, well, not if you're like to us, like to them, we would be like a cow. That's all we'd be. We wouldn't be you know, like how slaves were in, the during the Revolutionary War and stuff like that. It's different in that case because that's the same species, you know. But if it's like
Right.
a different species that is above them, for instance, that's the thing. Okay, whichever species is better is determined by which of them is on which can kill the other one. You know, whichever
Right.
one can kill the other one is the more superior. Now, it's not to say, for instance, it's not like in a fist fight which one would win. It's like whatever means necessary, which is better. Like the reason that human beings are above every other animal is because we're smart enough to kill everything. We're smart enough to build stuff to kill other things. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean that, oh, you can totally fist fight a lion and win. If that was how it was, we'd all lose. But it was the fact that we could build like spears and then kill lions.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, how the heck did we go from talking about the Exorcist to killing
No idea.
lions with spears?
No
Okay,
idea.
um, the Exorcist is fantastic and scary. That
Yeah.
is absolutely. I okay. What
Now,
did you think of it?
I gotta ask you about
Yeah.
the stairway sequence. Do you remember that when she comes down the stairway, kind of like in that crab spider?
Okay. I oh gosh, I just remembered. So you know how I was telling you I skimmed through the movie a little bit? I bet
Yeah.
I skipped that by accident.
That is one of the scariest moments I think I've ever seen in any movie ever. Like, remember how I said, like, for me, for whatever reason, Paranormal Activity was like,
Right.
in terms of just the total movie going experience. I'm not saying Paranormal Activity is the best horror movie I've ever
Right.
seen, but for whatever reason, it was the one that scared me the most for probably several different reasons. Kept me up all night. It just
Yeah. Well,
did.
here's
But
the
like
here's
that
the
that
thing.
moment in the Exorcist where and you got to go back. You can even YouTube it.
Yeah.
But that moment, just if we're just comparing, a moment of a horror movie to moments from other horror movies, I think pound for pound, that sequence where she walks down the stairway
Yeah.
upside down like in a
I have
crab
to
form,
I have to
and
watch it,
yeah, her
but I
mouth
think
is gushing blood. It is so terrifying. I think pound for
wow.
pound, that is probably the scariest moment I've ever seen out of any horror movie
I
ever.
would say though that you could argue that other scary moments that could compete would be the Ring TV scene. Um
Man, even
that
this,
would
the actually, you mentioned
or
The Ring.
or
Yeah.
or The Grudge, the stairway.
I can't go
I
with The
haven't
Grudge, but
I haven't
The
seen
Ring
I haven't
though,
seen The Grudge yet though. So I don't know necessarily how scary that scene
yeah,
is.
I don't think it's not nearly as scary in my opinion.
Okay.
But The
I
Ring,
can
you bring up The Ring. Another moment that I throw out there is, and we always talk about it, the closet
Oh
sequence.
gosh.
That's
You know
one of the
what's
scariest
horrible,
by
dude?
far.
You know what's horrible? We're gonna have to do The Ring at some point.
We have to, yeah,
We have to.
for sure.
It's like an
And I
obligation at
know
this
we're gonna
point.
be
And you know what's
we're
even
gonna be
more
scared
horrible?
all over
You
again.
know what I realize is even more horrible? At this point, we have to count that as a classic now. We can't really
Oh
count that
God.
anymore as a like a modern movie. We kind of like
Right.
think about it. It's so founded now and so established that
Well, and we also, yeah, go ahead.
we can't really count it as like a typical just modern movie.
Right.
It has to be
And
really counted as a classic now.
I think even to support that notion, the fact is that we went through a phase and we've gone past this phase of taking Asian horror films and
Yeah.
copying them here, like
Right,
The Ring, The
right. The
Grudge,
Grudge.
Pulse, and all those movies.
Yeah. I just want to say
The
this.
fact is
I
we've
just want to say
gotten
this.
out of that phase. It
Yeah.
just supports the notion that it is actually a classic because we've gone through that phase already and we're past it now. It's like, well, that's just
Yeah.
again further support that it is more so a classic than a modern movie.
Yeah. I gotta say though, Asian people make much scarier than movies than us. Like, it feels like, dude, like they're just much more psychotic over there or something. Like, okay, Hoff has this belief, okay, that Asian people just do everything better,
Okay.
just in general. And I thought about it and I looked at like Japan and I thought maybe it's true. Like
It's
okay,
entirely possible.
look at Japan, dude. They make some freaking scary stuff as far as horror goes. The Ring,
Oh yeah.
The Grudge,
Hmm.
um,
Ringu, I
and
think this was. Yeah.
yeah, and then I mean, look at everything. Okay, they're way ahead of us in like science because they're
Right.
already building like Japanese robots and stuff, and you're like, how the heck did they this happen? Which I think it's probably because they can't build up a military since World War II happened, so they focused on like economy and science. Um, they get better grades than everyone in America. Um,
Oh, yeah, by
yeah,
far.
they're just smarter most of the time because of that. Um, like they just do stuff, and like think about it. Okay, look at all the corporations they have that make like a bank load of money. You know, like
Hmm.
Nintendo, dude, is huge.
Right.
Like
Sony's not
for
doing as
real
well.
huge. Yeah, well, still though, Sony's like a huge name, you know. And then you
Right.
get like you get companies like Bandai Namco that
Right.
makes video games, and then Capcom, which has
Sure.
been a
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
huge thing. And what I think is weird, dude, is that a lot of them have been like around for a really long time. Like Nintendo has made like toys for like 100 years or something like that. And when I heard that, dude, I was like, "What?" like,
Yeah.
it's like if you heard, okay, in the 1900s, Microsoft was around, and you're like, "What? What did they do?" And it's like, "Oh, they made like porcelain dolls." And
Right.
then you'd be like, "How do you go from making porcelain dolls to making the Xbox?"
Right. Right.
So so
That's
so
funny. Yeah.
so
Have you seen like Ringu and like
I
the
have
actual
not.
Japanese version, like the originals? Have you seen
I
those?
have not. Are they scarier?
I haven't seen them either, but I do agree that
I guarantee you they are. I
Asian
guarantee you
horror.
they are. You know?
I think they're certainly different. I
Yeah.
like I figured like
Which is why
the
I
ring.
loved the scene in Cabin in the Woods where
Oh, that's
you
so
get to
funny.
see the
Yeah,
Japanese Japan
I
and
love it. Yeah,
they just got like this freaking weird girl floating and
yeah,
this girl with
and they're
like
like
and he looks like
chanting.
the girl from the Ring and then it's like through the power of love we will fight the demon. It's like what?
That's pretty funny. That's a great movie.
It is a really great movie.
I saw
Just
that the other
just
day and
alone
I forgot how funny
just
how
a
like good it
yeah,
was.
just alone on the fact that it gives such great commentary on horror movie tropes.
Oh,
Like,
for sure.
dude, okay, you know what I thought was so sad though is when Chris Hemsworth is like, "All right, I'm gonna get on my motorbike and I'm gonna jump this big canyon and get help." You remember that scene?
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
And dude, as that was beginning to happen, I was thinking the force field, and
Right.
I realized it before it was gonna
You gonna
happen,
die.
and I was like, "Oh, he's gonna die." And
Yeah.
I was just thinking,
Thor's not making it.
nope, Thor is not making it. And I love the fact that they were like, okay, whatever we want these people to do, just give them like hormones or like gases or drugs or whatever to make them
Yeah.
do certain things. Like okay, Chris Hemsworth says like, okay, no matter what, we cannot split up, okay, and and then they're like, that's smart, and then he's walking down the hallway and they spray him with something and goes, you guys, we should probably split up to cover more ground.
Right.
And then everybody like, except for the drugged out dude, is like, all right, I guess that makes sense. And then the
Yeah.
drugged out dude is like, did no one just notice that? Like, he just
Right.
completely changed his mind.
It's so
Or
funny.
I thought it was also really funny, dude, how they all go into the basement and there's all these weird items there, and then it was just a matter of chance on what kills them. You know
Right.
what I
Yeah.
mean?
I
Or
love that the guy, one of the guys who's, part of the corporation or whatever is
yeah,
always dying to see the Merman King or
right, and then
whatever.
he gets killed by a
Bye.
merman.
I love that. That was
And the
awesome.
worst, the funniest thing, dude, is that it's like the slowest creature there. It has to flop
Yeah.
everywhere to
Right.
get anywhere. So you're like, oh man, that makes it worse.
That's so funny.
It like crawled just to you, just to kill you.
Yeah.
And then that movie in general though is so ridiculous, especially the fact that basically like Cthulhu blows up the world at the end. You know, it
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love
like
see. Okay, for me personally, like I love it whenever like Cabin in the Woods, like heck, Cabin Fever.
Evil
I
Dead.
like it. I love yeah, Evil Dead. I love it when they decide to just say screw it and like destroy the
Yeah,
world.
yeah.
Just say screw it.
Or
Let's
just
kill
do
everybody.
something just like weird that makes zero sense. Like okay, Evil Dead 2
Yeah,
does it.
going
Evil
out
Dead
and
2 does it when he goes back in time for no reason and is in medieval times, and then all of a sudden there's these guys being like kill the deadite, and then he just blows away this zombie bat with a shot with his shotgun, and then everybody's like all hail the chainsaw arm man, and then he's like, oh no, I'm in the past.
right.
And then Army of Darkness kicks off, which I haven't seen yet, but I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure
I
it's
haven't seen that one
goofier. I'm
either.
pretty sure it's goofier than
Yeah,
Evil Dead
for
2.
sure.
Um,
Yeah, I love it when horror movies just go off the rail, like just to say,
yeah.
throw up the F it flag and like do something totally insane, like
Yeah.
kill the planet, like in Cabin Fever or in Cabin in the Woods, where they said Cthulhu like comes out and
Yeah.
you're like, the world's dead,
Yeah, it's just
everyone's
that's the
gonna
end of the
die.
movie. The world's
Yeah,
over.
the world's over. I'm like, that's
Humans died.
awesome.
Yeah. Well, see,
What a cool ending.
that's the thing about movies, dude, is that people need to separate what they want the movie to be and what the movie's trying to be. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like a lot of times the movie is trying to be a certain thing, and you need to judge it based on, okay, what was the movie trying to be and did it do that
absolutely,
well? You
absolutely.
know? Like okay, there's some movies,
Like
dude,
some
that are
people,
trying to tell
yeah,
as far as horror movies go, there are movies where they try to make it just flat out terrifying for you. There's some where they try to tell a good story, and then there's
right,
some that are just kind of like Evil Dead 2, where it's just like, what? Okay, like you just kind of just gotta. You basically in Evil Dead 2, you just gotta give up. Like just let it happen. That's all I can really say
right.
about that movie. Don't have
I
don't think anything. Just watch it. Don't care if it's weird. Just
right.
like accept everything that it tells you without
Right.
caring at all.
It amazes me how selfishly people view movies when they're
Right.
like, "This is no, I wanted it to do this. I want." It's like, what,
Right.
did you think that
Right.
they made this for you?
Now here's the thing. Okay.
What's wrong with
Here's the
you?
thing. Okay. Here's
How
I do want to.
self-centered
Yeah.
could you possibly
Yeah.
be to think
I
that?
do want to say this though, in an effort to make us not look hypocritical for talking about like Batman v Superman things like that. In
Right.
Batman v Superman, it tried. We understood what it was trying to do, but thought that it kind of failed. That's
Yes,
where
I
it's different. Is that
right,
if the
absolutely.
movie tries to do something and you understand that, and it fails,
It
I
failed.
thought like Civil War succeeded pretty spectacularly. Not to say that it didn't have
Mhm.
problems, of course, but it still succeeded, and that's where the issue is. Like, okay, there can be a goofy movie, okay, and
Mhm.
it's a great movie, but then there can be a goofy movie and it's really bad. It's
Right.
all about whether or not what's its intent. What is it
Right.
trying to
What's
do?
and does it successfully
Yeah,
get to that? Does it successfully capture what it's going for?
right.
And
Like a
that's what you need to
movie,
judge it on.
like if a movie is really funny, but it's funny because it's bad, it's important to figure out, okay, is the movie just trying to be bad, or is it that the movie's not trying to be funny here and it's still funny anyway? There are plenty of movies like that where the movie is supposed to be serious and yet it's still funny.
Yeah.
Like it's laughable. And that's
Right. So
in that
so
case
bad
you
it's
can in
good.
that case it's sort of like gosh, what's a movie like okay,
The
Batman and
the
Robin.
Room?
Batman and
Yeah,
Robin.
Batman and
Okay.
Robin. Yeah.
That movie's awful. Like
Right.
that movie is possibly one of the that's in the top 5 worst movies ever made, I think.
I'll throw out another one. Nicolas Cage's The Wicker Man.
Oh, I've seen the Everything Wrong with the Wicker Man.
Yeah. Oh my God, dude, it
I
is
was like I
hysterical. That
was
movie's
like
so funny.
dude, I was like this can't be a real movie.
It is.
There's
Oh
no way
man,
that any human being was like, yeah,
dude,
man,
Nickel.
okay, listen, let's let Nicolas Cage get in this helmet filled with bees
Oh
and
yeah,
then
the
put him
bees,
in
not the
this and
bees.
then stick him in this giant wicker man and light it on fire and he's going to be this weird sacrifice thing.
For honey.
And then the movie it ends.
It's for honey. They're doing it for honey.
Right,
And
okay.
literally, what's his name? Nicolas Cage. He dresses up in a bear costume and he just
Right.
goes and punches some
Right.
chick.
Right.
What?
And
That's
you're like,
insanity. Yet it's
right.
amazing. It's
Right. That's
amazing.
the thing is that it's funny but also bad. Like if
Oh, it's
okay, like
terrible.
okay,
Yeah.
if somebody wanted to get up here and be like, man, The Wicker Man's just so funny and it's so good, such a great movie, I'd be like, shut up. Like you
You're
need to
like,
be
no.
cast out, okay, for
You must have
saying
watched
something
the
like
yeah,
that.
you must have watched the original because or something. We watched different movies. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
totally. Yeah.
But like okay,
I will second though. I will just to go back to your point about Batman vs Superman again. Go watch the Ultimate Edition. I think it comes out on Blu-ray in like 2 weeks, so you can rent it. Right now, you have to buy it, but you can rent it in like 2 weeks on Blu-ray or whatever. Go give it a shot because what we're talking about, does it capture? It's in my opinion, the theatrical cut in a lot of ways failed to capture what it was going for. And the Ultimate Edition, though, I actually think that it successfully gets to what it was trying to get to. It
definitely.
successfully accomplishes
Yeah.
its goal, in my opinion. And there was a pretty drastic. I
Oh,
left the
you're talking
movie.
about Batman v Superman. Sorry, when I said definitely, absolutely, I really had no right to say that because I haven't seen it.
Right,
I was
right.
just
No,
like, sounds like he's saying something good.
Hey, all right, I hear you. I hear you. Well, so I would say in 2 weeks when you can rent it and get because clearly this is what Zack Snyder was trying to put out there.
Yeah,
They just it's a 3 hour movie. It's hard to put out a
right.
3 hour
Well,
movie. Of course, the studio is going to have a problem with that.
here's something I don't understand though, dude. Is that like okay, The Dark Knight Rises was a 3 hour movie. No one
Basically,
was
yeah,
complaining about that though. You know? Like there have been
yeah.
3 hour movies before where people are just like okay, yeah, it's long, but I prefer a long good movie than a
Oh yeah,
short bad movie
and
any
that's what
day.
this is. The theatrical cut for BBS is a shorter mess versus the Ultimate Edition, in my opinion, is a longer, well constructed film. Like
Did
it
they
makes
re-edit
sense.
it for the Ultimate
What's that?
Edition? Did they re-edit it? Like is the editing done differently as well? Like certain
I
things
would
are
say yeah. Well, so here a lot of the things are, it's not just a bunch of big scenes added in. A lot of it is just a lot of these scenes
extended
are
scenes.
extended for like 5 seconds to 10 seconds, and then it just smooths the transition from scene to scene so much
Okay,
better. It
good
feels like a
because
real
I
movie.
think one of our biggest complaints was that it was edited so poorly.
It was so jarring the way it
Right,
was edited, and it I
because what it does is it's Batman, Superman,
right.
Batman, Superman, Batman with Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman, Superman,
Yeah,
Lex Luthor, Batman, Superman, Batman, Superman,
yeah. It's
fight,
so
and it's
jarring,
like,
and
and you're just like, can't they make this feel like it's
it
not
doesn't
just.
feel.
It feels like they took a Batman movie and a Superman movie and then started splicing them together,
Yeah,
and you're
it
just kind
feels
of
just
like,
like a collection of scenes that
right,
don't flow with each other. And I will say in
right.
the Ultimate Edition, I've seen it twice since it came out, maybe
That's
three times
six
since it came
hours of
out.
your life you've
I
devoted to
know,
this
man. Well, I
movie.
had, I like to really make sure I understand what I really think about
Yeah,
it. So I was like, I need to see this a second time.
yeah,
And I'm telling you, that was maybe my biggest problem with the movie was the fact that it was so jarringly edited in the
right,
theaters. And in
yeah,
this movie, I counted, I think one time where I was like, that jump from scene to scene wasn't perfect. The rest of it though it flowed pretty seamlessly in my opinion. So yeah, I always view the Ultimate Edition to me is like so originally it came out with a 4 hour cut, and then they cut it down from 4 hours to 3 hours, and then they cut it from 3 to 2.5. And for me, cutting it from 4 to 3 was like cutting the fat off of that version. But
yeah,
then cutting it from 3 to 2.5 was actually cutting into the meat and
yeah.
like that was like no, you got to put that stuff back in there. Once they did, this movie makes it's
Yeah.
so much better in my opinion.
Okay.
The two
Yeah. Go
big
ahead.
things that I had, the two problems were the editing and some of the plot holes. And for me, this Ultimate Edition solved both those problems. Still, there's still a couple
Yeah.
issues like I didn't the Batman versus Superman fight is a little lacking, things like that. But for the
Definitely.
most part, the two biggest problems I had with the movie I don't have anymore, which made it really go up in my book. So rent it. We got to talk about when you get a chance to see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But I do.
How did
By the way,
Batman and Superman how did Batman and Robin ever become a movie?
I don't know.
Like you really think about it. I mean,
I you know what I love about
whose
that is that
idea was
Joel,
whose idea was it to cast Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze? That
the
is the
studio,
most.
because I mean think about it like that, like what a draw to the movie. Anything Arnold was in at the time was just
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
I mean, it's
But
certain. Let's put
still,
it this way:
dude,
it
he does
certainly
not
was
fit
not.
that at all, though. Is
It
the thing.
certainly was not for the benefit of the movie. Like anything, like everything in that movie, everything about that movie was to boost merchandise sales. I
And
mean, look
sell
at the
toys.
cars
Yep.
and sell toys. That's
Yeah.
all it was. It was just, I think Chris O'Donnell in an interview actually said the whole point of this movie was to sell toys. I
Okay,
mean, a
okay.
lot.
You know what's funny is the whole movie, whether or not it's good or bad, can be encapsulated in the first fight that Batman has, in which I'm not even joking. For those of you young enough that you have not been cursed by seeing this movie, um, where he leaps from the sky, slides down a dinosaur like
Yeah.
the Flintstones, and
Oh
then
yeah.
flips and lands, and then goes, "Hi, Freeze, I'm Batman." And
Yeah. I mean,
it's
if you
like,
think,
why do you gotta be such a loser?
yeah.
Like,
Oh, it's so bad.
and then
If you
the bat skates,
That's what I was
the
just gonna say, dude.
bat
Okay,
skates.
If Batman has skates in his shoes, there must be an infinite amount of things that he has going on with his suit. Because what possible situation would he go? You know what? I got a list of like 100 things I'd like to have in my suit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put ice skates in there. What?
Oh,
Why?
also his costume is the worst.
Oh, it looks terrible. He
Awful
looks awful.
for every
George
reason.
Clooney just looks
For
terrible
every
As
he
Batman.
does because you know what's worse though is that a lot of people will be like, why does he wear like eyeliner? But dude, in this you can literally see, like
Yeah,
you can
yeah, yeah.
absolutely be like he is wearing just like paint around his eyes.
It's so bad.
It looks like, dude, the mask is so far from his face that it looks like you can see the
Yeah.
skin just around the eyeliner, just on the
You know,
outside of the eyeliner.
You know it's bad when Joel Schumacher apparently publicly, like in an interview, apologized for that movie.
Right,
And I'm
dude.
like, you know
Like,
what? But you got to give the guy some respect. You're like,
I
all right,
appreciate that he apologized for
yeah.
forcing
I
me to
mean that
watch that.
that takes a lot. That takes a lot to be like, you know what? Yeah, I was just. I think he said he was just trying to, like, I don't know if he has kids or if he has, nephews or nieces or what, but
Curse them, torture
yeah,
them.
you're right. But he was like, I just wanted to make something that like my nieces and nephews would enjoy, and I'm like, well,
I'm Mr. Friesmeister. I'm Mr.
oh my
Oh
word!
gosh.
All right,
And
hey,
then there was some.
real quick, we got
Okay.
to let's do a final recap
Yeah.
here on the Exorcist, and then because I got to run,
Okay.
but
Okay. What did you
real
think of the
fin-
ending, real quick?
the ending. I loved the. I thought it was awesome just
Yeah.
because okay, I thought it was awesome because the whole time I just wanted I feel it's terrible for me to say this, but I don't want someone to punch this girl. I don't want her to I want this I want to someone to punch the demon, but like I love at the very end he just starts wailing on her, and I'm
Right.
like,
Right.
oh,
And
it's
you just
terrible, but like
right.
I just hate this demon thing. I just
Well,
want to
dude,
I want someone to smack it
yeah,
around,
what I thought
and
was
he
so
does.
crazy, dude, and this is what I was thinking for the whole ending of it, the whole later half of the movie, was like
Right.
I can't tell if they're winning this exorcism or not. Like it was
Right.
very
Yeah.
like I was very much like, are they doing good? And then the exorcist has a heart attack, and I'm just
Right.
like, oh. And
Yeah.
then I love how Sylvester Stallone is is like, oh no, what the heck do I do now? And
Right.
and then he basically, I guess, just panicked and was like, okay, take me, and then just jumps out the window, is like, I must get rid of it, and kills himself.
Which I
Which
was
I was
like, that's
thinking
actually
is,
pretty awesome.
yeah, which
Like,
okay, is that what happened? I wonder. No, that can't be what happened with the other guy. The guy who
No,
falls out the
yeah,
because otherwise the moon would be gone from her. Um,
right.
but yeah, pretty crazy movie. So
Crazy. Man. Yeah.
real quick, I wanted to ask. Okay, so what do you want to do next week? I was thinking, dude. I
Ooh.
was thinking we might as well get this out of the way for the classic. I was thinking The Ring.
We could do The Ring.
We
Um,
might as well just get it over with, right? Plus, Hall's never seen it.
Oh, let's do The Ring then. And
Oh
I'll
my!
throw out in terms of like a movie that came out recently, especially because I actually thought the other day I was like, I really need to watch this again because I haven't seen it in like several months. I wouldn't mind doing It Follows.
Ooh, ooh.
It's pretty good, man. It's a goodie.
Can we
I think.
not stick such terrifying concepts in one week? Can we do something else this week? I need
Okay, all
something.
right,
I need
all right.
something
Well,
easy.
let's do It Follows next week. But maybe we just talked, or the following podcast. But we just talked about Cabin in the Woods. We could also do that one.
We could do that one.
What do you think? We got something in mind?
Nothing particular. We could do Cabin in the Woods. Cabin in the Woods is easy though. Plus, I watched it pretty recently, so I wouldn't have to rewatch it. So yeah,
Let's do
yeah,
Cabin in the
yeah.
Woods.
Let's do
That
Cabin in the
one's
Woods.
all right. That'll give you a little bit of levity to
Yeah,
along with The Ring. So
dude. The Ring is one of those things where you'll never be the same. Like, like really, you just
yeah.
can't get over it ever. Like you
Oh
don't
man,
ever just be like,
I'm excited to
that
see
movie's
that.
really just not scary. It doesn't scare me anymore. That never happens. Never.
No, no, those images, I remember seeing it in high school and I was like, I didn't know you could put such like scary, terrifying images on screen, like the flies
I
and
didn't know, dude, that you could make somebody's face look scary. Like
oh,
a human face. Like
Jesus.
just a, you know what I thought was weird though is that they're like green. You know it? Aren't they
Right.
like
Oh
green
God.
too? That's what I thought was weird. Was like, what the heck? Like, why did you show me that? Why?
Yeah. Oh
Because
man.
it's not like a monster is the thing. It's like a victim. You're never used to seeing the victim be scary. You know?
Yeah. And the movie sets up so well with that first part where the girls
Oh
in the
gosh. What
kitchen
I
and then the
hate, and
phone
this
ring.
is what
Oh,
I hate the most. There's no build up. It just
right.
like that happens, and I'm like,
Yeah. And all of a sudden you hear that
I'm
like that weird music when she walks back in her room and it's that like weird high pitch like I'm not gonna try to imitate it, but all of a sudden you look and there's like water on the floor or I don't, and you see the well. Oh, we'll have to get into this next week.
gosh, I hate that movie.
Man, that's a good one. I haven't seen this in years, so I'm
Yep,
stoked to see that
yep.
one.
I
All right,
haven't
man.
seen it in probably like 3 years or so. So yeah,
That's a good one.
yep.
Cabin in the Woods, The
And The
Ring.
Ring. Yep.
I'm all in.
Okay. All right, Chad. Thank you for appearing on the podcast again. We'll be
Yes,
happy to
sir.
see you next week.
Fun as usual.
Thank you everybody for watching, and goodbye.